Hello out there. My name is Laolu Akonde and you are on to Inside Sources. And here is my take for today. I'm looking at two important issues. Number one, NNPCL versus EFCC. Nigerians have a right to know. In this past week, the news of the interrogation of the NNPCL GCO, Mr. Bayo Bashar Ojulari, is all over the place, with many dimensions and several angles. But the EFCC has now come out to demand a retraction of a report by People's Gazette that alleged that the executive chairman of EFCC, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, abducted the head of Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited and forcing him to resign at a secret rendezvous in Abuja. That's a direct quote from what EFCC put out officially. Now, Mr. Olukoyede, the head of EFCC, has also demanded that People's Gazette should give a public apology within 48 hours. He made the demand on Wednesday, and that is within his right. Now, People's Gazette should also respond. But altogether, we are left with several unanswered questions. Is the corruption in NNPCL actually getting worse? Why did the EFCC invite Ojulari for interrogation? If they had kept all of this under wraps, we wouldn't know, and we would be quiet. But now, the news is everywhere. Nigerians deserve to know exactly what is going on. No self-respecting law enforcement agency will go and interrogate the head of a national institution such as NNPCL if something critical is not amiss. Only weeks ago, Mr. Olukoyede alarmed us all when he told us some of the things he had seen that are troubling in NNPC. And so the EFCC, who has not denied that they are interrogating Ojulari, they owe us to even give us more information. It is not right if all of us are pretending that covering up what is really happening in NNPCL is the way to go. That is wrong. EFCC, NNPC, and Ojulari all have a social responsibility and political obligation to address the cloud that is now hovering around NNPCL and around EFCC and around the presidency regarding what happened to Ojulari in these last few days. We have always made a point here on Inside Sources that the president should do to NNPCL what he did commendably to CBN. These things have to be cleared up. Mr. President, you sit atop all of this, and all of this is happening under your watch. When will you clean up this mess? Nigerians own NNPCL, and all we are asking for is a little bit more transparency and accountability. Why is everyone, from Mr. Bayo Onuga of the Villa to NNPC to EFCC, why is everybody keeping mum about what is happening in NNPC? Next point, 2027 elections. Let's curtail the ethnic tensions now. There's a worrying escalation of ethnic tensions in the country, especially as politicians are forced on us a rather early engagement with the politics of 2027 presidential elections. In fact, INEC have had to warn politicians this week to obey the law on the timing of electioneering campaigns. According to media reports, and I quote, "But it is the stalking of ethnic tensions and the not-so-subtle arrogance in some of the narratives of hegemony that is more troubling. This is so whether it is in Lagos, where the street names are now being changed by the Babajide Sanwo-Olu administration, ostensibly with the locus of maintenance of historical alignment. Or in Kaduna, where, like Festus Adedayo, the columnist, noted that Mr. Bashar Dalatu, I quote now, spat on the North's grouse, alleging that President Bola Tinubu had underdeveloped the North, unquote. There is also a viral video, actually viral videos of some online bigots spewing hatred between Igbos and Yorubas. And all of this and more because of the 2027 presidential elections 2 years away. Just one point. Let us halt these shenanigans and curtail it now when we can. We need to also remind ourselves that only a united Nigeria can be a strong Nigeria. I believe in that strong Nigeria. And the common people have only one need. They want to survive one day at a time. And so instead of fanning the embers of ethnic discord, can we spend good time ensuring that we fight for a true federal constitution? And can we make that issue a central narrative going into 2027? That seems to me a better course of action than all these ethnic controversies that are all over the place. Let me say it again. One big and strong Nigeria is in our best interest, all of us. And there you have it. Inside Sources. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, we are leading the show with a conversation on the controversy in Itasa community, which is in the Iwajowa local government area of Oyo State, where there is mining operation going on, and there's a bit of tension between the company and some people in the community. This conversation is going to also reflect on the kind of federalism that we operate, where the land belongs to the state, but the content of it belongs to the federal government. And so to join me in that important conversation, I have somebody who was the gubernatorial candidate of the National Conscience Party for the in Oyo State in 2003, a radical lawyer and ally of the late Chief Gani Fawehinmi, a notable Nigeria. I'd like to welcome for the first time onto Inside Sources, Comrade Femi Aboishade. Comrade, welcome to Inside Sources.
Thanks very much, and I want to appreciate the work of Inside Sources.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, you are based in Ibadan. That was where I went to school, grew up, and became a journalist, you know, way back to 1997 when I was the editor of Tribune on Saturday. So I'm much an Ibadan man like yourself, comrade.
That speaks to the greatness of your state.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, we're going to get to this controversy of what is happening in Itasa community. And I know that you are also the legal advisor to the community. Now, but I'd like to have my regular opening question that I ask my guests, since this is your first time on Inside Sources. If you look at where Nigeria is today, comrade, you are a radical lawyer. You've worked with people like Gani Fawehinmi. You ran for governor in 2003. Are we on course to that great nation that many of us dream about in Nigeria today?
Unfortunately, no. Successively, the governance of Nigeria has been hijacked by the enemies of the people. They are not interested in governing for the well-being and welfare of the people as provided under the Constitution. They are more interested in capturing the wealth and resources and dispossessing the people. Day in, day out, we continue to witness unprecedented agony, pains, and pans, while the rulers continue to swim in opulence. We have a contradiction of the people wallowing in abject poverty, and the rulers are just interested in looting and dispossessing the resources of the people for their own well-being. They are rich and wealthy because the people are poor. The people are poor because the rulers are rich. The basic reason for this is that the means by which ordinary people ought to enjoy their lives, those means are being looted and being stolen by the ruling class. So we are not on course. The Nigerian people ought to organize, ordinary people ought to organize and stop looking up to their enemies in power. The rulers in power are the enemies of the Nigerian people. Until the ordinary people realize this fact, until they draw this lesson, we will not be on course. We have missed the road so far.
Well, thank you for those opening comments. And, just because we want to focus on the mining controversy in Itasa, I will postpone a further discussion of that, because you've raised quite a very important perspective. And by the grace of God, we're going to get the time that you will come back to Inside Sources so that we can delve into some of the fundamental insight that you've shared. So let's just segue to what is happening in the Itasa community. Now, there is a mining operation that is going on in that community. And it will seem that some of the precedent, the legal requirements that have to be in place before mining operation or to take off are not in place. Now, I have followed this story for quite a while, and I wanted to ask you just to give us a summary of what is happening currently in Itasa community regarding the controversial mining operation. Comrade.
I think the crux of the matter, the kernel of the matter, has been summed up by you. I am concerned with the law. The law, the Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act 2007, sets out certain conditions precedent which must be fulfilled before mining operations begin. Unfortunately, the miners in the Itasa community have, with impunity, ignored those conditions precedent. Those conditions, we can say, are also the sine qua non activities or acts or actions that must take place before mining activities take place. But they have been ignored with ignominy. First, the Minerals and Mining Act provides in section 116 of that act that there ought to be concluded what is called CDA, Community Development Agreement, ever before mining activities begin. Section 119 also provides for another condition precedent, environmental impact assessment must be conducted and be in place and approved before mining activities can begin. The EIA has not been conducted, was not conducted prior to the commencement of mining operations. Not only that, the Act also provides for rehabilitation and restoration program, environmental protection and rehabilitation program, which will show how the land will be reclaimed, rehabilitated when destroyed in the course of mining operations. Because mining operations are accompanied with destruction of the environment, of the land. This plan is not non-existent. The miners are not bothered about it. Unfortunately, the government, the federal government that is empowered to enforce the law, they have closed their eyes, they have turned deaf ears to the cries of ordinary people in Itasa that the government put the law in place. Enforce the law. It is not too much to ask you to perform your role, but unfortunately, public officers in this country are always very eager to be compromised. We have a situation in which we have written, and They claim that the miner, one particular miner, Archetype Industries Nigeria Limited, has a valid community development agreement. And we told them no. This particular miner gave us a letter written by the ministry rejecting the CDA that he purportedly signed. One of the queries the ministry raised then was that how did you select the representatives, the signatories, who represent the community? You did not explain. And that is the method of work of miners in the community. They go about hoodwinking, compromising some so-called leaders. Having compromised them, they send anything for them. Even the ministry rejected it. So we told them, you, the ministry, you rejected the CDA. No other one has been in place. You're not concerned about EIA. Government ought to protect the interests of the society, of the people, of the generality of the society, but they are busy protecting business interests.
All right.
It's unfortunate.
Okay.
What is going on in Itasa is a good example of what Marxists call, how Marxists define the state, that the state is nothing but the executive committee of the bourgeoisie.
Okay, all right.
Government has been serving the interests of business. As far as mining activities are concerned in Itasa, they are not serving the interests of the people.
All right. So, Comrade, let's take it one by one. And so you said that at a point, the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals, did reject or question the Community Development Agreement. Now, so that implies that they later agreed. Does that mean that later on the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals changed its mind on the Community Development Agreement?
They did not change their mind. No other community development has been submitted ever since they rejected the one submitted by the miner.
Okay, but
this is the letter by the ministry that I'm holding here.
Okay, Comrade.
It is dated 19th April 2022. No other one has been submitted.
So at what point?
It was in 2022 that we had series of meetings with the miner, and we agreed we were going to draw up, from the point of view of the community, a community development agreement. We did that and submitted it to Archetype Industries Nigeria Limited on the 4th of December 2024. Till date, he has not reacted to it.
All right.
Even though we have now proposed a meeting to hold under the auspices of the ministry to hold on the 7th of August.
Okay.
At the JDPC Secretariat in Ibadan.
Okay.
But no other one has been submitted.
Okay, excellent.
Therefore, today, no valid community development agreement.
Okay.
This is the letter.
Excellent, excellent. And in the course of this story, that we are getting into, we are also going to make opportunities available for the miners, the company, and even we are also going to be speaking in the course of this series. We're going to be speaking with the Miners Association of Nigeria. And of course, I have also been speaking to some of the officials in the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals. What I want to ask now is, at what point did the miners got the license? At what point?
Well, the point I want to make fundamentally is that for a company to have license to mine or a mining lease of whatever, it's not sufficient for that company to claim to be operating legally. You may incorporate a company, but there are other conditions you must fulfill depending on the area of the economy you are operating. In this case, the Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act sets out conditions precedent, which the miner, the most prominent miner for now in the community, did not observe.
Okay.
That is the point we are making. However,
yes,
ever before the ministry would give a license to any company or anybody to mine,
right,
by virtue of sections 100 and 102, sub 2, subparagraphs A and B of the Act, the ministry or the minister is obligated to write expressly to the community, asking the community to set out the rate of annual surface rent that they will claim, to demand and set out the compensation they want. No such letter exists.
Okay, I understand that. What I'm trying to get at is, at what point did the miners commence operations? You have established the view that there is no agreement on the community development agreement, which is a condition precedent. You have also established the view that there is no environmental impact assessment report. You've established those two positions. My question is that, can you tell us at what point did the mining operations...
No, there is a third one. Environmental protection and rehabilitation program.
Okay.
It is not
all right.
It is not in existence.
So okay. No, so all of those points have been made. My question is that, can you tell us, for the benefit of our viewers, when did the miners started mining operation in Itasa community?
From the brief that I got from members of the community, and I'm also a member of that community, they started mining operations about 2000. Year 2000.
So they've been mining for 25 years.
Exactly.
Without,
and
in your
all
view,
that period.
Without your view, no CDA, no community development agreement, no environmental impact assessment.
None. And we are also contending that even the consent they have is invalid, because the minister ought to have written the community, notifying them that a particular company is seeking to obtain license.
When did they get the consent of which you speak, Comrade Abushadi?
No, they have what they purport to call what is purportedly called consent. But we are saying the consent they have was obtained by manipulation.
So yeah, I get the point. I'm saying that so they probably got that consent, and now we are trying to understand it since they started operation in 2000 or recently.
They obtained the consent in 2000, but that consent is not valid. That is the point we are making, because even from the letter by the ministry that rejecting the CDA, the ministry queried the CDA that the manner by which the representatives who signed on behalf of the community, the manner by which they were selected was not indicated. In the same way, these miners will just gather a few persons together without convening a general meeting of the community. The land does not belong to an individual. The land belongs to the entire community, and the impact now and in the future will be borne by all citizens and future generations. To that extent, they all have a stake.
Okay, all right.
And that is supported.
By the law.
By the law.
Absolutely. Now, so
domestic law, the Nigerian Constitution, section 43, and the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights,
absolutely,
which vests in the people the right to control their natural resources for their own well-being and for sustainable management, for the enjoyment of the current generation and future generations.
All right. Yeah, let's take it a little deeper. So, what is the role of the Oyo State government in all of this? Now, we understand that we operate a very unique brand of federalism where, our constitution, as it is currently, says that the state, and by extension, the state governor, holds the land in trust, okay? But the mineral inside the land belongs to the federal government. That is just one of the, in my view, some of the absurdities of our federal system. But we're going to get to that. The point is that since the state is the one that owns the land, even though they don't own the mineral, what is the involvement of the Oyo State government in this situation so far? If you can just share that with us.
The Oyo State government is also concerned with illegal mining activities, but it will appear that the Oyo State government is also frustrated by the Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act that places control of mining activities in the federal government. For example, the Director General of Oyo State Solid Minerals Development Agency, Mr. Abiodun Oni, went to Itasa to visit the mine site, and they were attacked by the private militia engaged by the illegal miner who has not fulfilled the conditions precedent. But they were lucky they survived it only because they also went with the police and Amotekun, and they got them arrested before they can carry out their visitation. Unlike us, when we applied to the police for them to give us police escort, that we were not going to the mine site to fight, we only want to observe. Give us police escort so that our intention is not misconstrued that we were there to cause violence. The police resisted. They said they could not give us escort, that whatever we want to do, we should empower them to carry out the investigation on our behalf. And we said, no, cannot work that way. We were only able, we were lucky that the Amotekun exists. We approached the state government and they gave us escort of a good number of Amotekuns who accompanied us to ensure that our intention, our physical visit, was not misconstrued. So I actually agree with you that there is a problem. It is not only the state government that ought to have a say. The community, where the mines, where the minerals, are being mined, also deserve to have a say. We now have a situation in which illegal miners go about with police escorts, and we, the owners of the land, are not given police escort to even visit the mine sites. It is as bad as that. It is ridiculous. And we are arguing that Nigeria, as a member of the international community, that is the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, that covenant vests in the communities, in the peoples, the right to control their resources for their own well-being today and for sustainable development for the interest of future generations.
All right, Mr. Femi Abreshade, thank you so much. Let's begin to conclude. I want to make some statements, because I've been speaking with a lot of the people involved. I've spoken to people in the Ministry of Solid Minerals. I've also spoken to Mr. Abiodun Oni, who is the Director General of the Oyo State Solid Minerals Development Agency. So I have a fair understanding of what it is that is happening. There's also a public video. I believe it's available on YouTube, where the chief executive officer of the company that is doing the mining said that they have completed the environmental impact assessment. It says that on the record, and of course, it's the Federal Ministry of Environment, that has the responsibility to approve, to assess, up or down that report. So the miners are saying that they have done their own part in developing the environmental impact assessment, but it's the federal government that has not yet approved it. Now, but the important thing is that, as you have said, the condition precedent before mining ought to happen is that report ought to have been approved. And then there has to be an agreement on the community development agreement also, which seems to also be contested. And so we are hoping, and we are going to be continuing this conversation. We will also be speaking, hopefully, with the miners, because it's a good thing. They are also out there trying to make an explanation of their own perspective. And we also will be engaging, hopefully, with the Nigerian Mining Association so that we can have a broad and general overview of this problem. So let's see how the hope that he will do it within the time that is left. Thank you so much, Comrade Femi Aburishade. Thank you for your work. Thank you for the courage and the forthrightness to stand up for the Itasa community. And thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
Thanks so much. We are always inspired by your forthrightness in Inside Sources. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. And there you have it. A segment gone. We're going to return with the conversation for the day. Inside Sources will be right back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Just to follow up on the previous segment where we had a conversation with the legal representative of the Itasa community on the situation of mining in the area. I have here with me in the studio the president of the Miners Association of Nigeria, Mr. Dele Anyoleke, and also the miner whose operation is taking place in Itasa himself, who is joining us virtually. We have Engineer Adeniro Ajibade. So I'd like to welcome first the president of the Association of Miners of Nigeria. Welcome, sir, to Inside Sources.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. And of course, virtually, Engineer Adeniro Ajibade, the owner, the man who has the license for the mining operation in Itasa. Engineer, you're welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much for having me, Mr. Loluwakande. It's nice seeing you.
Thank you, sir. So let's start with the president of the Miners Association of Nigeria. I wanted you to just describe, for the benefit of our viewers, what normally happens when a mining operation takes place in any of our communities. Now, I'm sure that you will have heard yourself that there's quite a bit of opacity. People don't know what it is. There are claims of a lot of underground mining without appropriate relationship with the community, that some people don't even have the licenses, and that many things happen even without people getting the proper legal system. So, as the president of the Miners Association of Nigeria, can you just describe to us very briefly, in your own view, what happens around mining operation sites in Nigeria?
Oh, well, thank you very much. I just want us to know initially that mining is a legitimate business, and before you can call yourself a miner, you must have obtained certain documents. Take, for example, you need to be properly profiled by the Ministry of Soil Mineral Development through one of the agencies known as a mining cadastral office. If you have not obtained a mining title, because you have so many of them, if you have not obtained any one among them, then you are operating illegally. And the reason why we have this legal operation is that it's as a result of the history of the mining operations in Nigeria. Initially it was being done by expatriates. As a result of some of the Nigerian decrees, some of them left. And when they left, it seemed, and oil now came up on board as a cash cow for Nigeria. The government also seemed to have forgotten about mining. So that one gave room. Gave room for a lot of illegality operating the business. So, but when the government now opened eyes and they are now coming in,
right.
They are still cleaning the table. But definitely that situation, that scenario has actually caused a lot of infiltration in terms of illegal operations in the business. So presently, if you are not a title holder in the business, you are a legal operator.
Okay.
And don't also forget that we have a lot of artisanal. These are scavengers.
Yeah.
They just carry shovel and digger. But some of them discover where we are mining today that we call where mining companies are operating today, because of their knowledge of the deposit. So they first of all go to any area they discover there is a likely deposit. They begin to excavate with their crude implements until they get to a stage where they can no longer continue. When they get to hard rock, they can no longer continue. So we are still having that all over. You see them, dry season is coming now. You see abandoned farming. They come to all those areas where there are such opportunities for them to make a living.
All right. So the follow-up to that is that, so in your view, is it the case, or based on your knowledge, that we have a lot of illegal mining going on, especially with the collaboration of foreigners?
Well, you can't rule that out. And because when you look at what's happening in Nigeria today, take for example, because of this banditry, all this kind of criminality going on around the mining spaces, some of these places have been banned. And I mean, mine operations are banned, yeah. But even when they say they ban mine operations, there are no enough security agencies to make sure they police the place. So you have all these foreigners sponsoring this artisanal to go and dig for them and cut away our minerals. So there is a lot of, I agree with you that quite a few places we have all these foreigners sponsoring our people into the bush to do illegal job for them. And we also have some other legitimate mining companies who have some of these foreigners as their partners.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine. All right, good. Let's take it to Engineer Adinu Ajibade, who seems to be in the eye of the storm. We just had a segment with a legal representative of the community. Actually, we spoke with Comrade Femi Aburishade, who alleged that you started operations in the Itasa community without an approved environmental impact assessment, and also with a contested community development agreement. So Engineer Ajibade, can you please respond to those claims?
Okay, as regards the EIA, it's actually called the Environmental and Social Impact Assessment now, because we want to see how the mining activity will impact, socially, whether in terms of getting the socio-economic benefit. The barrister, he is not living in that community, so maybe he can be excused for not being aware of the processes that we went through in doing the ESIA, because it's under the Federal Ministry of Environment, and we started from what we call the site verification visit from the Federal Ministry of Environment official. We did what we call the scoping workshop, where the people in the community, the different segments of that particular community, they were all represented. And then we did what we call dry season data gathering, because we appointed consultant experts to handle all these aspects of the job. They did the dry season data gathering, they did the wet season data gathering, they wrote their comprehensive report, which we put in all the relevant locations. The State Ministry of Environment, the local government, the community, we put it there for some 21 days. And there were advertisements and even jingle in radio and newspapers. So we went through all these before we did the review, panel expert review. And then we already have an approved EIA. But it must be put on record that actually at a stage, the barrister was actually discouraging the community from participating in the process of the ESIA. I'm aware of that. Of course, the community cooperated with us, and then we have all our EIA ready. Everything is already, in place. Concerning the CDA, we had a CDA with the community in September 2019, which we executed. Even some of the projects contained in the CDA, we actually surpassed the implementation of those projects, because if it is convenient for the company should do more. That's our own belief. So there is a road, a 15-kilometer road from Bedu within the community to Ohori village, which is actually a rural road. But most of the farmlands in Itasa land is actually located there, and they needed that road to be able to evacuate their farm produce. So we did that road, we rehabilitated it. It was really in bad shape. We rehabilitated it in 2019 and graded it. Then 2022, we regraded it. So it was in 2022 that the lawyer, we went for a meeting in the office of the lawyer, and the lawyer requested, the community actually requested for a review of the existing CDA then. So, and we agreed, and the community assigned the lawyer to actually do the review. Unfortunately, it took the lawyer 28 months from August 2022 to December 2024 to come up with a review. I kept, emphasizing to the community that whatever you are producing is going to be a draft. Whatever draft the community brings, they have the right to, have the ambition to say, okay, this is all we want. But the ministry, under the Mines Environment Compliance Department, they are the ones that will supervise the process of developing the CDA. And they are in stages. One is that you do what we call the commencement meeting with the ministry will talk to the company as well as the other stakeholders and educate all stakeholders and be able to manage the expectations of all stakeholders so that there won't be so much conflict. So that meeting, at a stage when the man was delaying, the Mines Environment Compliance, they held a meeting with the Itasa community in December 2024. And after that meeting, that was when he dropped the something. And he just sent all the copies of the draft to me and said I should sign it and then returned it. And in that particular draft CDA, he was saying that he requested that
when you say who are you referring to, engineer? Who is the E?
The barrister. The barrister, because everything came from
Mr. Aborishade.
Femi Aborishade.
All right, okay.
He actually sent the draft and then contained in that particular draft CDA are covenants like production sharing, 30%. We are not even sure the mining company is making 30% of profit, but the community wants to take 30% of the mineral production, which is illegal. Then he also talked about 70-kilometer road to be tarred in all the roads leading and linking that particular community to neighboring places to be tarred, and then building an ultra-modern palace, ultra-modern shopping mall, ultra-modern town hall, giving scholarship to 70 people, 70 students, both in Nigeria and abroad. So when we looked at all these things, we made our own counter proposal. And when we made our own counter proposal, these are the things that our resources can sustain. Because we don't want a situation whereby we are going to be agreeing to some things, and then all of a sudden we don't have the resources to implement those projects. The crisis will just continue to drag on and on. So we try to be as fair as possible. We talked about boreholes. We already even drilled 5 boreholes under the old CDA, and we contributed to building of the community health center. In fact, we were going to now drive the community health center because they said the road and the community health center was their priority, because they already had the equipment, the medical equipment for the community health center stored over a long time, so that before it will get bad, we should just finish that particular structure. So we had very good understanding with the community, but it's like the chief, the kings, they gave a lot of respect to the barrister, believing that he is and that is doing so well. In fact, we planned one specific thing, which was that under the draft CD that we are saying, we said we want to set up a cooperative for the women and put some lump sum there, so that every family in Itasa will feel the effect of that particular cooperative. Instead of them to negotiate under the Mines Environment Compliance, we're supposed to have a negotiation meeting. What they were saying is that stop work, leave the site, and that is not what should be.
Okay, engineer, thank you for your perspective. I just want us to nail down a few things. Now, the environmental and social impact assessment, like you said, I understand, and I've heard you now and even in previous videos to say that you have done the report and stuff, but you don't have an approval from the federal government as yet.
We already have the approval.
Okay, so when did you get the approval?
That should be about 3-4 months ago.
Okay,
but a lot of activities culminated in that one, and it is still an ongoing thing. With the approval, you still need a lot of activities, because when we talk about the life of a mine, just like you keep exploring through the life of a mine, you keep managing the environment, and the ministry is always on our neck to make sure that we do the needful.
Okay, yeah, but my point is that between the last time you spoke in some of the videos in the social media where you considered in your interview with Mr. Edmond Obilo that you hadn't received, and that was a recent interview, you confirmed in that interview that you hadn't received an approval from the Ministry of Environment. And I also...
I said it.
Yes.
I said it there that we have done everything we needed to do.
Yes.
And we are not the ones that will fast track whatever is coming from the ministry.
Yeah. So you are not saying that...
We waited on them, and eventually the approval came.
So you are not saying that there's an update, you now have the approval from the Ministry of Environment.
Yes, that's the update.
Okay.
We have the approval. And I can always send you a copy of the certificate if you need, sir.
Okay, yeah, certainly. And then the status of the community development agreement is what? Because, your description itself shows that there isn't an agreement as yet. What is the status of the community development agreement today?
The status of the community is that the community generally now, those people that are living within that community that are impacted by our mining activities, I think they eventually freed themselves from the stranglehold of that destructive lawyer. So they called his bluff and said, look, he's not playing any positive role and the community is losing. So they now sent us a letter some 2 weeks ago where they now eventually agreed that we should hold a meeting first week in August. So that is supposed to be the negotiation meeting, which should have been held from the beginning of the year.
Okay, all right, yeah. I mean, Comrade Aboishade himself spoke about that forthcoming meeting, and he also said, that he is a member of the community, because you keep referring to him as if he's not a member of the community. I mean, he said he's also from that community himself.
He's an indigene of the community. And for him, being a lawyer, I expect a better understanding from him of the law and the processes.
That's okay. I mean, you guys can have the differences of opinion, but I'm trying to say that he also belongs to that community. Even if he doesn't live there, he hails from the community. I just wanted to clear that up. The next question I'd like to ask you, engineer, before I bring it back to the president and then we close, is now, how do you respond to the position that mining operation shouldn't start until all of these things have been completed? That you and many other people, not just in that instance, you have commenced operations without all of these things, CDA sorted out, EIA or EISA as you call it, sorted out, that you were engaging in the operations without those things settled, which is the position of the law. How do you respond to that, engineer?
Yeah, I think, sometimes when it comes to regulation, you find that it's actually an evolving process. The first law says that even before you carry out exploration, you must do a complete EIA. And now, if you have exploration licenses and you have to do EIA on all the exploration licenses where you have minimal disturbance of the environment, then definitely, obviously we were like trying to educate, that look, this is not practicable. That is for the EL, for the exploration license. And over time, the regulators came around to say, look, you cannot be requiring a full-scale EIA for an exploration license holder before he can be able to carry out his exploration. In the case of the EIA for mining, the law says you should do it before you start operation. Most of the time, in reality, what is done is that you register with the Federal Ministry of Environment, you do the whole process, especially when you get it to an advanced stage. And when you look at, an area of, a very big area, let's say a football pitch, and you are talking about just a small area that you are operating now, and you have already commenced the process of the EIA, all the community needs to do is to cooperate with the company to fast track that process, not to be disruptive, because if you are disruptive of the EIA and the CDA, we are not helping the community and we are not helping the company.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Let's wrap it up with Mr. Anyoleke. So I wanted to ask you, just as a general perspective, that what's the view of your association in the way the miners and the community relate? Because clearly, the situation in Itasa is not in isolation, to the extent that there are even violence in other communities about how these things are done, when do we start it, and then the environmental degradations, that the communities suffer because of the operation. So as an association, how do you guys, what was the ideal that you try to achieve, and how do you manage those tensions?
Well, thank you very much. Association is a voluntary thing. We are not packaged by any, apart from we're assessing our rights. We are coming together as investors in mining business. Those questions on how to manage also should better be related to the regulators. But that does not mean that I don't have an opinion on that. You see, I just want to appeal to every mining community to ensure that, because mining is a knowledge industry, every community, once you know that you have deposits of any mineral at your backyard, please, it's just better for them to get knowledge. I become what I am today through community engagement in mining. Maybe you don't know that I have a relationship with Engineer Jebade.
I can imagine.
Komu and Itasa share boundary. I'm from Komu.
Okay. In the same
local government. We share boundary with the public community. We are Itasa and Komu. We are neighbors.
Are you in the same local government?
We are operating in the same environment. Different local government. No, it's operating even in because let me tell you, it's like the boundary between Komu and Itasa is like this.
Okay.
And Yanibadi Ashtab is operating both here and here.
Okay.
So we are together.
All right.
And maybe you don't know that he's presently the president of Jamestown Miners and Marketers Association of Nigeria. At the same time, the secretary of BOT of MAN, which I'm the president.
The Manufacturers Association? No,
Miners Association of Nigeria.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we are also MAN.
Okay, also MAN. Okay.
So you see,
that's true.
I just want to appear. I've made some moves to talk to Professor Comrade Abu Shadi. I've called him out and he didn't pick my call, to tell him that we are from the same environment. Whatever affects Itasa will affect Komu in terms of all these issues we are talking about.
Right. And
I've tried to call him so that we can meet. I can educate him. If there are any areas where Archetype has not been doing things right, let us sit down. You can't win this war through this praise and propaganda. It is just better we sit down. So talking in terms of what transfer between communities and mining companies, it is just good that each community should sit down, look at what the law says. Even beyond what the law says, there are laws and there are culture. There are some companies that they can do even beyond whatever the law says. I brought here a copy of the revised CDA guidelines.
Okay.
People should get knowledge. Let them have knowledge of what is the requirement for any mining company, what is the requirement of any community. In our case in Komu, when minerals were discovered, the people in the mines office, in the mines office in Ibadan, they came to our community and they advised us that for us to be able to know and have a say in what's going on at our backyard, it's better that we get involved. That is why some people come together in the town and they incorporated the company. So we are operating side by with other companies operating in that place. We can regulate between the community demand and whatever the company will say they want to do. Through that one, we set up a committee known as Community Mining Committee that interfaces between the mining companies and the community in terms of all these issues of EIA, CDA, things like that, so that we are able to help the community to regulate their demands. And at the same time, no mining company can tell us lie income in terms of what it's producing and what the law says it should do for us. So the community should please get knowledge, because they cannot stop mining from taking place unless it's not discovered. See, even where the government said they put a ban, people are still working there because there are not enough human and logical capacity for government to regulate and to stop all these operations.
In any case, the minerals are there for the benefit of everybody.
Yes, and there are laws and regulations that can take care of this issue of impact, environmental degradation, social disruptions. The problem we are having in that regard is that like I've said earlier, we don't have enough women at the capacity at the regulatory agencies to be able to make sure that all these things are well taken care of.
All right. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Engineer. Thank you, President.
Thank you very much.
For coming
Thank
to
you.
Inside Sources. And that wraps it up for our edition today. Like we always say, Nigeria will prevail because we will keep on to push the important issues, and we believe that one day Nigeria will get a big break. Thank you for watching. My name is Laudo Akonde, and by the grace of God, I'll see you at the next edition.